Hello, my name is Maria Sanchez. I never imagined I'd return from death. Not at 72, not ever. But here I am, alive, breathing, and speaking to you. I was gone, truly gone, long enough for doctors to declare me lost, for my family to grieve, for the world to move on. And yet, something brought me back, or rather, someone you sent me back. Not because I wanted to come back. No, it was for a reason. A message so urgent, so terrifying, that I cannot keep silent. This isn't just my story. It's a warning for all of us. Please, listen closely. You need to know what I saw, what I heard. The last thing I remember was the unbearable heaviness in my chest, my body surrendering to the illness that had struck me down in mere days. My daughter, Lucia, was at my side, clutching my hand so tightly in the ambulance that her knuckles turned white. "Hold on, Mama, please!" she cried, her voice trembling as she fought tears. Trailing behind us, my grandson Mateo wove his car through traffic, blaring his horn, desperate not to lose sight of us. I felt their love, their desperation. But beneath it all, I felt the slow, inevitable pull of something much bigger, something I couldn't resist. When I opened my eyes again, it wasn't in the hospital or anywhere in this world. I was enveloped in light. Not the light of the sun, but something alive, warm, and infinite. I felt no pain, no fear, just an overwhelming sense of peace. And then, I saw him, Jesus. I know what you're thinking. You're rolling your eyes, assuming I'm just another frail old woman rambling nonsense. But I swear to you, he was there. His eyes pierced through me, seeing every part of who I am and who I had been. His presence was undeniable, his voice resonating not in my ears, but in my very soul. He didn't just speak. He showed me things about the world, the choices we've made, and the path we're hurtling toward. Things that shook me to my core. And then, as suddenly as I had arrived, I was sent back. When I awoke, I was back in the hospital bed. My daughter Lucia was gripping my hand, her face buried in the blanket, whispering through sobs. "Goodbye, Mama. I love you so much." Behind her, Mateo stood frozen, his face pale and stricken. His younger brother, Diego, stared blankly out the window, unable to face the moment. The nurses were murmuring softly, their faces etched with pity. One of them was reaching for the monitor to silence it. Then I gasped, a sharp, desperate breath that shattered the silence. Lucia screamed, stumbling backward, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. Mateo jumped so violently that he knocked over a tray of instruments, sending metal clattering across the tile. The doctor, Dr. Alvarez, rushed in, his expression a mixture of shock and disbelief. "Impossible," he muttered, his eyes darting between me, the machines, and the readings that had declared me gone. Lucia clung to the edge of my bed, tears streaming down her face. "Mama, you were gone," she stammered. "I know," I rasped, my throat dry and my voice weak. "But I'm back, and I've been sent with a message." Her eyes widened, her lips quivering. "A message? What are you talking about?" I tried to sit up, my body trembling from the effort. "I saw him, Lucia. I saw Jesus. And he showed me things, terrible things, that are coming. He sent me back because the world has to know." Mateo, ever the skeptic, folded his arms and narrowed his eyes. "Wait, Jesus? Are you saying you had died, and now you're back with some prophecy?" "Yes," I said firmly, my gaze locked onto his, unwavering. "And it involves someone you'd never expect, someone who will shape humanity's future." Lucia leaned in, whispering, as if afraid to hear the answer. "Who? Mama?" I took a deep breath. "It's about Elon Musk." Mateo scoffed, a short, nervous laugh escaping him. "Elon Musk? Are you serious?" I'm as serious as death itself, I replied. What I saw, what I was shown, he is at the center of it all. His choices will ripple through the future of mankind, more than any of us could ever imagine. The room fell silent. Even Dr. Alvarez, who had been ready to dismiss my words, paused. The air was thick with disbelief, but no one could look away. "You don't have to believe me," I said softly, my voice trembling with urgency. "But what's coming will happen whether you believe it or not. We have to be ready. We must pray. We must act before it's too late." Their faces were etched with confusion and fear, but something in their eyes told me they felt the gravity of my words. This was only the beginning. Soaring upward, I left my body behind, carried into a place that defied everything I thought I knew about existence. At first, there was silence. Not an empty silence, but one brimming with an energy that felt alive. It pressed against me, filling every part of me, like a symphony on the edge of being heard. Light surrounded me, brighter than the sun, yet soft, golden, and alive. It didn't blind, it embraced. I felt it wrap around me as if it knew me, comforting and warm, melting away every pain, fear, and doubt I had carried for years. I wasn't scared or confused. I just was. It was perfection. As I ascended, or was drawn upward, I couldn't tell which, I began to see shapes emerging through the light. It wasn't just brightness anymore. It was a place, vast and surreal. Rolling meadows stretched out before me, glowing as if the grass itself sang. Rivers flowed like molten glass, shimmering with colors I'd never seen before. And the music. Oh, the music. It wasn't something you could hear with ears, but something you felt. It vibrated through the air, through the ground, through me, as though the entire place was alive and humming with joy. Then, as suddenly as the beauty enveloped me, I felt it. A presence. Not just any presence. It was a him. I didn't need to see him to know. He was there. Jesus. At first, I didn't see him clearly. His presence was everywhere, filling the air like sunlight on a cold day. When he appeared, it wasn't like the pictures in church or stories I'd read. His face was radiant, but not inhuman. His eyes, his eyes, were unlike anything I could describe. They held a depth that felt like staring into eternity, seeing everything I ever was and would be. He didn't judge, but he saw me, all of me. Every mistake, every regret, every joy. And still his gaze was filled with love so immense it broke me. I fell to my knees, not out of fear, but because the sheer weight of his presence left me no other choice. "Maria," he said, and the sound of my name in his voice sent a wave of warmth through me. "You are here for but a moment. Your time is not yet finished." I didn't understand. I didn't want to understand. How could I leave this perfection, this peace? But his voice carried on, firm yet sorrowful. "There is a message you must deliver, a message for the world." As he spoke, images and feelings overwhelmed me. I saw the earth, suspended in the vastness of space. It was breathtaking, so beautiful yet fragile, like a delicate ornament held by an unseen hand. Humanity appeared, rushing and restless, consumed by its pursuits. Light and shadows danced among them, innovation and progress clashing with greed and corruption. And then, amidst the chaos, one name rose above it all. One man. Elon Musk. I saw him as if I stood right there beside him. Around him were towering structures of glass and steel, machines that moved with a life of their own, and pathways leading to the stars. He was at the center of it all, a figure of immense power and influence. But his journey was precarious, like walking a tightrope stretched across eternity. Behind him, I saw others, figures cloaked in shadow. Some whispered encouragement, others, doubt. It was clear he wasn't alone, and yet, his choices would shape what came next. Why him? I whispered, though my voice made no sound. Jesus' voice answered, steady and sorrowful. He is at a crossroads. The choices he makes will ripple across generations, shaping not just this world, but those yet unseen. Pray for him. I saw more, visions of a future that depended on his decisions. In one version, Earth flourished, a harmony of technology and humanity, faith and innovation intertwined. In another, it was desolate, cold, stripped of its soul, dominated by machines that had forgotten their creators. The contrast was devastating, and the message was clear. The future was not set in stone. Humanity's fate hung in the balance. "Maria," Jesus said again, his voice gentler now, "you must go back. Tell them what you have seen. Tell them to pray, to guide, to hope. There is still time." Before I could protest, before I could ask why I had been chosen for this task, the light began to fade. The music dimmed. The colors softened, and the warmth slipped away. I felt myself being pulled back, away from the perfection of that place. The next thing I knew, I was gasping for air, surrounded by chaos. My daughter, Lucia, screamed, her hands trembling as she reached for me. My grandson, Mateo, froze, his face pale as he stared in disbelief. Doctors and nurses rushed in, their expressions a mixture of shock and confusion. Even as my frail body struggled to move, the message burned within me. It was etched into my soul, and I knew I could. "My time here wasn't over," I began, my voice weak but determined. "I was sent back. For you. For all of us. We must prepare. The future depends on it." Their disbelief was evident, their faces a mix of fear and skepticism. But I didn't car. Jesus. I'm telling you, I saw him. Jesus stood before me and revealed things I can't unsee. He gave me a message, a warning the world needs to hear. Lucia, her daughter, tried to offer a reassuring smile, but it was weak, her confusion plain in the tight lines around her mouth. "Mama, you've been through so much," she said softly, as if trying to console a frightened child. "Maybe this is just your mind's way of, It's not my mind, Lucia," Maria interrupted, gripping her daughter's hand with surprising strength. "I'm not imagining this. I'm not confused, and I'm not crazy. This is real. Jesus spoke to me. He was sent me back for a reason." Mateo, her eldest grandson, shifted uneasily by the wall, letting out a nervous chuckle as he rubbed the back of his neck. "Abuela, you're saying you saw Jesus, and he sent you back with a message? For us? For the world?" He shook his head, his skepticism as clear as the uncertainty in his voice. "That's a lot to take in." Maria turned her gaze to him, steady and unwavering despite the weight of her frail body. "I know you don't believe me, Mateo, but you will. You have to listen. This isn't about me. It's about all of us. Jesus showed me what's coming, and it's bigger than anything you can imagine." Diego, her younger grandson, who had been standing silently near the window, finally spoke, his voice quiet and hesitant. "You mentioned someone. You said Elon Musk." He hesitated, his brows furrowed. Why would Jesus talk about him? Maria's expression turned serious, her voice growing firmer. "He's not just a man building rockets and cars. He's at the center of something much bigger, something that will shape the destiny of humanity. Jesus showed me a future where Elon Musk's choices lead us either to salvation or destruction. And right now..." Her voice caught for a moment. "He's standing at a crossroads." The room fell silent. Even Dr. Alvarez, who had been quietly checking her vitals, froze mid-motion, his curiosity outweighing his professional detachment. Maria pressed on, her voice carrying an urgency that demanded attention. "Jesus showed me visions of the earth, first as it is now, beautiful but fragile, He showed me humanity, so full of potential but distracted, rushing blindly toward a future we don't understand. And then I saw him, Elon Musk, at the center of it all. Lucia frowned, confusion deepening the lines on her face. Mama? Why Elon Musk? Why would he be so important? He's just one man. Maria shook her head slowly. He's not just one man anymore. He's become a symbol of where we're heading, a leader in fields that are transforming the world. Jesus said he's standing on a precipice, and the choices he makes will ripple through all of humanity. But he's human, just like us. He needs guidance. He needs prayers. Matteo crossed his arms, his skepticism softening but still present. I mean, sure, he's important, he said slowly. But what does praying for him actually do? He's a scientist, not some kind of prophet or savior. Maria leaned forward as much as her frail frame allowed, her voice steady and low. That's where you're wrong. He doesn't need to be a prophet or savior to shape the world. The enemy. She paused, her eyes narrowing as if seeing something they couldn't. Yes, the enemy is watching him, trying to twist his brilliance into something dark. Something that will sever us from God, from each other. Jesus told me Elon Musk is brilliant, but vulnerable. He needs our prayers to stay on the right path, to use his gifts for good. Dr. Alvarez, who had been silent until now, finally spoke, his tone cautious but respectful. Senora Sanchez, he began, what you've experienced is extraordinary, but near-death experiences can... I wasn't near to death. Maria cut him off sharply, her eyes blazing with conviction. I was dead, doctor. I know the difference. And this wasn't a hallucination or a dream. It was real. The doctor opened his mouth to respond, but stopped, silenced by the weight of her certainty. The room was heavy with tension, the faint beeping of the heart monitor the only sound breaking the stillness. Lucia sighed, her shoulders slumping as she looked at her mother with equal parts love and doubt. Even if this is real, Mama, what are we supposed to do? How can we help Elon Musk? We're just ordinary people. Maria's expression softened, but her voice remained firm. By spreading the message, she said simply. By sharing what I've seen and by praying, not just for him, but for the world. This isn't just about one man. It's about all of us. We must remember that technology is not the enemy. It's a tool. And like any tool, it can build or destroy. Jesus showed me both futures. And I'm telling you, we want the one where we build. Matteo shifted, his curiosity growing. What did these futures look like? Abuela? What did you see? Maria hesitated, the memories of those visions flooding her mind. Her voice lowered as she began to describe them. In one future, the earth was alive, vibrant, filled with life and connection. Humanity thrived, using technology to heal, to unite, to reach the stars with grace and purpose. But in the other, she paused, her voice catching. It was cold, lifeless, a world ruled by machines, stripped of its soul. Humanity had forgotten what it meant to be human. Her words hung in the air, vivid and haunting. Finally, she whispered, "The choice is ours, but the time is short." In one future, technology worked hand in hand with nature and faith. People used their innovations to heal, to connect, and to grow closer to one another and to God. It was a world where progress served humanity's soul, not just its mind. Maria paused, her gaze distant as if reliving the vision. But in the other future, her voice faltered, the memory of what she saw clearly haunting her. It was cold, lifeless. Machines had taken over everything. Humanity had become a shadow of itself, soulless, disconnected, and lost. There was no love, no faith, no connection, only efficiency, only loneliness. David, her younger grandson, visibly shuddered. And you're saying Elon Musk, that he holds the power to decide between these futures? Maria's eyes locked onto his. I'm not saying it. I know it. His decisions, his actions, they ripple across humanity. And so do ours. Our prayers, our choices, they matter. Jesus showed me that nothing is set in stone. There is still time, but we have to act. The weight of her words pressed on the room. Her daughter, Elena, sat on the edge of the couch, her arms folded tightly, her expression a mix of doubt and quiet awe. Maria could see the skepticism in her family's faces, but also a flicker of something else, hope. However faint, it was there. It had to be enough. The days after Maria's return were a whirlwind of emotions and unexplained occurrences. Whispers of her survival spread quickly through the tight-knit community. At first, it was hushed gossip in the hospital hallways, the nurses exchanging glances and murmuring about the woman who came back. But soon, it reached the town. People stopped Elena at the grocery store, neighbors peeked curiously over the fence, and Maria's phone buzzed with calls she didn't answer. At home, Elena stayed close, her concern masked as care. I'm here to help you recover, she'd say. But Maria saw the way her daughter watched her, as if waiting for something to happen. As if Maria might slip back into the world she had so briefly left. Her grandsons, David and Marco, visited often. Their curiosity outweighed their disbelief. They'd sit around the kitchen table, their questions veering from hesitant to outright challenging. Abuela, Marco said one evening, leaning forward, if what you're saying is true, why you? Why would Jesus choose you to deliver a message about someone like Elon Musk? Maria smiled faintly, folding her hands in her lap. Because I'm nobody special, she said simply. That's the point. This message isn't about status or power. It's about faith. Maybe Jesus chose me because I'd listen when others wouldn't. David frowned, perched on the arm of the couch. But why Musk specifically? There are so many powerful people in the world. Politicians, leaders, billionaires. Why him? Maria's expression turned grave. Because what he's creating is different. This isn't about money or politics. It's about the tools he's building. Tools that could save us or destroy us. Artificial intelligence, space exploration, neural technologies. These are things that will shape our future in ways we don't even understand yet. And Jesus showed me that Elon Musk is standing at a crossroads. Right now, he's making decisions that will ripple through the fabric of existence. Elena, who had been sitting quietly in the corner, finally spoke. Mama, I want to believe you. I really do. But how are we supposed to know if any of this is real? What if it's just She trailed off, unable to say the words aloud. Maria didn't blame her daughter for doubting. Even she struggled to grasp the enormity of what had happened. But then, the signs began. It started small. The day after Maria returned home, she was sitting in the kitchen with a cup of tea when the lights began to flicker. At first, she thought it was the town's aging electrical grid acting up again. But this felt different. The flickering wasn't random. It came in a steady rhythm, almost like a pulse. A strange tingling sensation coursed through Maria as she rose from her chair. She walked to the window and saw a bird perched on the sill, its tiny frame still and its black eyes locked on hers. The bird didn't move, didn't blink, until it let out a sharp, piercing chirp and flew off into the sky. Maria's heart pounded. It might have been nothing, she told herself. But deep down, she knew better. The next incident was harder to dismiss. Maria and Elena were sitting in the living room when the television, which had been off, suddenly turned on. Static filled the screen, accompanied by a faint, garbled voice. It sounded like a distant radio transmission, fragmented and urgent. "What's going on?" Elena asked, her voice trembling, as she jumped to her feet. Maria didn't answer. She couldn't. The voice was faint, distorted, but she knew it was trying to say something. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, the television turned off, plunging the room into silence. Elena's face was pale. "Mama, what's happening?" Maria shook her head. "I don't know, but I think it's connected to the message." As the days passed, the signs grew more frequent. Lights flickered in deliberate patterns. Unexplained noises echoed through the house at night. Whispers, footsteps, the hum of unseen machinery. Even the weather seemed to shift around Maria. Storms rolled in and out without warning, as if responding to her presence. The strangest of all were the dreams. Every night, Maria relived the visions Jesus had shown her. Elon Musk at the crossroads, the diverging futures, the shadowy figures watching him from the edges of the light. David was the first to notice the pattern. One afternoon, he sat at the kitchen table with a notebook, furiously scribbling notes. "Abuela," he said, glancing up, "these things keep happening when you talk about the message. It's like something doesn't want you to share it." Maria nodded, her expression grim. "I've felt it, too. There's something, or someone, trying to interfere." Elena, still skeptical but clearly shaken by what she had witnessed, crossed her arms. "So, what do we do?" she asked. "How do we stop it?" Maria's voice was calm but firm. "We don't stop. We push forward. We pray. We share the message. And we trust that the light will prevail." The room fell silent, but the weight of her words lingered. They knew, deep down, that the battle was just beginning. The moment I returned from death, I knew my purpose: to deliver a message of warning and hope. At first, my family was skeptical. My daughter Elena asked why Jesus chose me, an ordinary woman, and I told her, "That's exactly why. If this came from someone famous, it'd be dismissed. I have no motive except to share what I've seen." I described the visions: one future where humanity thrived, technology harmonizing with faith and nature; another where cold machines dominated, leaving a soulless, disconnected world. At the heart of it all was Elon Musk, standing at a crossroads. His choices, Jesus showed me, would ripple through humanity's destiny. Word of my story spread through our small town, attracting neighbors, church members, even skeptics. A young reporter, Daniel, came to question me. His doubts softened as I shared my account. "You really believe this?" he asked. "I don't just believe," I said. "I know." Strange occurrences followed. Lights flickered in rhythmic pulses, electronics malfunctioned, and whispers filled the night. Even neighbors reported odd dreams and sensations. Despite the unease, I persisted. My grandsons, David and Marco, joined me, spreading my story online. Responses were mixed, some inspired, others dismissive, but conversations began. One day, a letter arrived from Rosa, a young woman across the country. She wrote about how my story renewed her faith. "Your story reminded me there is light, love, and purpose," she said. This was why I was sent back, not to change the world alone, but to remind others of their power to shape it. Each prayer, each act of kindness, each choice to believe in hope over fear was a thread weaving a brighter future. The message was simple yet urgent. The future is not set in stone. Humanity stands at a crossroads, and our choices, our prayers, and our faith will decide the path. As I look out at the horizon, I feel peace. The message is out there now, carried by others, sparking hope and reflection. The battle isn't over, but I know humanity has the strength to choose the light. 4-0.